What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the JFK Debates Project. I am your host, Matt Douthit from Dallas, Texas. Today we have JFK researcher Doug Stone. Doug, how are you?
I'm great. Good to see you. I'm glad we could do this.
Absolutely. And where are you from again? What state?
Well, I was a military kid, so I'm not from a particular state. I was born in Japan.
Today's debate is a rather interesting one because, Doug, you fall into neither the lone nut Oswald did it alone camp or neither the a conspiracy believer camp. You follow the infamous George Hickey theory put forward by Howard Donahue. So, for those that don't know, in the follow-up car behind President Kennedy's limousine was a car packed full of Secret Service agents. One of those Secret Service agents was a guy by the name of George Hickey.
While George Hickey was holding the AR-15, I do not believe that he pulled the trigger or was at any fault. I would put the fault much more with the rifle itself and the design of that rifle, and of course, all kinds of other circumstances. But when people say George Hickey, he was not to blame, and he really did the best he could under the circumstances, and didn't work out. But that's life.
Do you categorize yourself as a low nutter, as a conspiracy believer, as a how would we rank you? Because
Yeah, okay. I would say Lee's assassination attempt of three bullets interrupted by the accidental slam fire discharge from the AR-15, which was the fatal headshot, otherwise known as the Grassy knoll gunshot.
yes, and for those that don't know, this theory was first came forward in Howard Donahue's book, Mortal Error, and it was picked up some attention on the 50th anniversary of the assassination with a documentary called JFK the Smoking Gun, with another book sort of updating that by Colin, what's his name? Colin.
Colin McLaren.
Yes. So and a lot of people saw that documentary. It was all over the 50th anniversary. So yeah, this is one of those theories that's uh it's out there. Not a whole lot of people believe it. You do though. So where do you want to go from this? How did this all happen? How did
Well, I just want to, I would like to begin by saying that as I was watching your Patrick Collins video, you said you guys were discussing the fragments,
Mhm.
and that really is the key to the whole case. And you said, people say, well, where is the Grassy knoll bullet? Well, by, it was taken and not submitted for analysis to Frazier and the FBI. I think you have nailed it. I think you have solved the case. You are right. It's that really to if we can understand those fragments and that Grassy knoll bullet, we've got it. And I think we can do it tonight in this conversation.
Really? That's a bold
Well,
statement. So, but
and I want to add that even though I haven't gotten through the whole Patrick Collins video, my mind was blown with all these people. There was a Boone who said that he heard the fatal headshot coming from in the vicinity of the car, of the limousine.
yeah,
That is an amazing find. I'm blown away. I'm blown
he
away.
was a
Where did you come across that particular quote that he heard
oh,
the
that
fatal
was
headshot coming
that
from the vicinity of the limousine?
that is from his report, which is volume 19, page 508. He
Wow.
said, quote, the quote, shots coming from the vicinity of where the president's car was. Now, of course, I and many other researchers and critics think that that points to the grassy knoll, but you
Now you do. Now you do in this moment. but we're open to change. We're open to like what we're open to is it's almost like a lens that we're just shifting, and we want to make it as clear as possible.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to going through the rest of it.
Let's take it slow. Let's start with the first shot. When do you think the first shot happened, and where do you think it was fired from?
So, um, imagine Lee up in the window, and he's looking down Houston, and the motorcade is coming towards him. And he knows that the agents in the security car have guns. So what he doesn't want to do is start firing away, and then there's like a Wild West.
Unison.
They're just firing at each other. George Hickey takes out the AR-15 and starts blasting up at that window and
Yeah.
blows Lee away. That would have been great.
So you're
But
saying, yeah,
but that didn't happen because Lee waited until they turned so that everyone had their backs to him, which made it much more difficult and much more awkward to fire back.
I've heard that because a lot of people say, well, why didn't Lee just pump lead right into JFK's face as he's coming right at him down Houston
Yeah,
Street? And people say what you just said, but you know what? All he would have had, I hear that, and at first it sounds convincing, but it's like to me, it's like all he would have to do is like stand further back. And
I think that's what he did do on the first shot.
on Houston Street, I mean, if he's coming up Houston Street, he could fill his head full of lead bullets easily if he just backs up and
Yeah.
shoots him on Houston. So if he was a single assassin,
Well, I'll tell you what I think.
why wouldn't he do that? Yeah.
He wanted to be able to get a lot of shots, as many shots in as he could. He didn't want just one shot. He wanted to pump bullets into Kennedy's back. And it just so happened that this AR-15, along with pistols, were in that follow-up car. Men are coming at him with guns. He wants to be, if you're choosing a position of like, he might get one shot off, and yeah, maybe he could have hit JFK right in the forehead. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He waited until they were already, moving slightly away, and then boom, click, click, boom, click, click, boom, click, click.
Yeah. And I do believe that there was a shooter above. I just think that
Well, who was that shooter?
um I don't I don't know.
What did he look like?
I don't know. We have descriptions of him that don't look like Lee, but that's getting off on a tangent. For this debate, let's stick with okay. So the first shot, when do you think that happens?
I'm thinking around Zapruder 152, around that area.
Yeah.
152 to 155, 156.
Yeah, I say no way it was that early. I don't think so. I mean,
When do you think it was?
I think we know when the first shot happens because Phil Willis was about to take a picture. The first shot went off and it scared him and he clicked his camera. And so that time stamps when the first shot happened and that was at Zapruder frame 202. So
No, I don't. I find that story is not.
I
It's just not.
explained this
It's not strong enough. It's not strong enough.
I explained this to Patrick Collins. From all the witnesses, you can extract information and from them, and you can see where they place the car.
Okay, I want to ask you something.
No one places the car that far by the
department. I want to ask you something.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I want to connect two motorcycle cops' statements. Okay, do you mind?
Sure. Go ahead.
I'm going to keep it brief. But Stavis Ellis,
yeah,
he's further down Elm, just near the Newmans. He's not far from the Newmans.
Okay.
And And he said that he turns around and looks back,
Yeah.
and he sees the bullet hit the north curb of Elm
Hmm.
and sent up junk and dust and debris. And
Yeah.
there are many witnesses who saw that happen.
Yeah.
And many witnesses thought it was a firecracker because it made a loud cracking sound
Hmm.
and sent all of this stuff up at JFK and into the limo. JFK was hit by this debris. He really was. And there's so much evidence for this. Tom Robinson, who you mentioned in your video, found three holes under JFK's right eye. Okay. There's
Was
there's so much evidence that the first Carcano bullet hit the curb behind the limo, behind and to the, if you're in the limo, it's behind and to your right.
uh-huh.
If you're JFK, it's behind and to your right. Um, Marvin Faye Chisholm saw it hit. She saw sparks flying out.
Yeah.
Both of the Franzens saw debris and fragments flying into the limo.
Yeah.
So I just want to say, like you said in your Patrick Collins video, that the importance of understanding the fragments of the grassy knoll bullet. If we
Uh-huh.
understand, and that was the last shot, I believe. If we understand those fragments and we understand the fragments of the first missed shot,
Hmm.
that is also very helpful to solving this case.
So you think that the first shot was in Zapruder frame around?
152 to 156.
Okay, so no witness besides maybe Geneva Hine puts the car that early way up here in
No, incorrect.
in the 150
No, I'm
160 area.
incorrect. I disagree.
Okay.
The witness. Let's look at the Zapruder film. Connolly, right after that, is turning to his right,
Yeah.
just as he said. Right after that, Rosemary Willis is
Yeah.
slowing and stopping because she heard the first shot. Um, Kennedy, Kellerman's.
Yeah. I've
there's
heard all
there's
this.
there's many witnesses, and I think that the reason you're saying that those frames are missing because a technician dropped the film on the floor, I think that they were taken out to obscure. They wanted to obscure any reactions to the first shot. The first shot had to go missing and had to really be erased. So we're really talking the amount of tampering we're talking about is a lot because it's not just the AR-15 accident, it's also the first shot.
This I've never heard this before. In one sentence, you sound like a lone nutter. On the second sentence, you sound like a conspiracy believer. This is I've never
Well,
heard
okay,
this.
so it was a cover up. It wasn't a conspiracy, it was a cover up
Okay.
of an accident, and the reason the accident had to be covered up, it was a national security issue, and we can get into the details of that, but it was very serious that it not be made public.
Let's try go in order for the first shot. You mentioned John Connolly, turning to his right, around frame one, beginning at around frame 160, and that is, of course, used by lone nutters to say, "Oh, that's him reacting to the shot." But again, as I said, there's there's no witness who said the car was right here at frame 150 or 60, 55 or 60, way up here when the first shot happened. They all said it was right around here, around frame 190. Oh,
No,
yes, that's what I said. Researcher Pat Spear
no,
oh
no.
yes, researcher Pat Spear has documented this. He said there's only one witness, Geneva Hine, who says that who said it was that early.
Um,
And we know when the
well,
first
the other reason it had to be there is because that's right before the tree would have obscured the shot.
Yeah.
And so that shot had to be taken at that time. Otherwise, it would have been fired right through the tree.
No, no. There's a gap in the tree at a frame 186
What
or
do you mean
one.
what do you mean a gap in the tree?
Oh yeah, if you look through the rifle, there's a gap in the tree, and that's exactly where the shot was fired through.
Well,
That, and
I'm going by the witnesses. I'm going by the witnesses who said that there was a firecracker. They thought it was a firecracker, the first
yeah,
shot, and
oh yeah,
it's so you're saying that happened at 190?
yeah, around
What,
186.
what curb did it hit?
I don't think.
Okay, so
I think
why don't you tell me what you think happened?
no. You're the guest. You're the guest. So okay, so you think the first shot missed? I don't think the first shot missed. I think the first shot hit Kennedy in his back at frame 180 on frame
Okay, so
190.
all I can tell you is the witness evidence, the medical evidence, the photographic evidence, Tom Robinson, the embalmer, all of this stuff, they're all telling us that a bullet hit the north curb of Elm Street and sent fragments up that went into the car. Those are the Carcano fragments that they said came out of his head.
I think
They
that
didn't come out of his head. They came from the first missed shot that was a ricochet shot that sent all these fragments into the limousine and at Kennedy and hit Kennedy. And he said, I'm hit. And he put his hand up to his neck because he was hit. And,
yeah,
and embalmer Tom Robinson confirms that he was hit and he had three little holes under his eye.
yeah. So
And the only way he knew that was that formaldehyde was seeping out
yep.
from the inside.
Well, I'm well aware of that. Yeah.
So
So
that's from the first missed shot, and
okay.
those fragments is it? I can't remember what it's. It's like that big chunky one. Uh, all the fragments that were found, the Carcano fragments that were found on the floor of the limo were from that first missed shot.
No way. I think those were from the rear hit from the 6'4" window depository headshot hitting him in the back of the head. But anyway, we'll get there. We'll get there.
But why don't they have any blood or brain or hair or anything to indicate that it went through a
There
head?
was they did John Orr did an analysis and they analyzed it and they said yeah there's tissue on the fragments. That's in John Orr.
So okay,
That's in John Orr. Hold on, that's in John Orr's report to Attorney General Janet Reno in the 90s.
So if what I'm saying is that the first bullet hit the curb, sent those fragments into the car.
So there is ample evidence of a shot hitting the curb. Um, personally, I personally in my mind and in my heart, I do not think, and this is a radical theory. I do not think that any shot hit hit the curb or in the street. However, I think it is possible that there was a fifth shot that possibly hit the curb. If that is true, did hit the curb at Zapruder frame wherever it is on the acoustics tape, and then that is what sent the fragments up. So yes, so I'm willing to concede that that's what happened. Now, whether one of those fragments hit JFK, you think it hit him in the back of the head or the neck? I've heard that before. Is that true?
Um, the only thing I'm absolutely certain about is under his eye, three fragments under his eye. Although David Mantic has said that there were more fragments in the back of his head.
So you think the
Yeah.
shot so you think that the fragments hit him from came up from behind him, right?
Uh,
Not in front.
so he's like imagine he's like this. They're coming like this.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So like yeah. Yeah, I've never heard of someone saying that it hit him in the face. I've heard that people said that it came up like this and hit him in the hairline in the back of the head, and that counts for the wound that they saw in the back of the head at autopsy, the small hole.
Well,
So,
there's just so much evidence that
so you think it did not?
he reacted to this.
I guess if there was a shot that hit the curb and sprayed up, and that is possible because there were a lot of witnesses who saw that. In my own personal opinion, I can't reconcile that. And Josiah Thompson addressed two or three of those witnesses in his book. I can insert a screenshot here later. But of course, over the years, there's been more people, and I know I can't explain why a lot of people would say that the curb was hit, and but
Because it was.
okay, that's very possible. In According to my four shot theory, that it's not in there, but okay.
I have
But
a
like
four
I
shot theory
but,
too.
but like I said, I can concede a fifth shot um and place it where the acoustics has it, and that could be, first of all, the acoustic tape said it was a rogue shot. They can't determine where it was. They just said it was a rogue shot at this area. But if
What was that fatal headshot?
no, the one that hit the curb.
Oh, gotcha.
And that hit the curb. And like I said, if I concede that and that fragments did go up. Now, whether it hit Kennedy or somewhere, it like hit him in the face, I guess that's possible. I don't see enough evidence, a whole lot of evidence to direct evidence to that.
The embalmer said that he had three holes under his eye.
That could be. Did he say that to the HSCA or did he just say that to the ARB? Okay, so for those that don't know, this is what Doug is talking about right now. It says Robinson saw two or three small perforation or holes in the right cheek during embalming when formaldehyde seeped through these small wounds. Yeah, that could, again, it could be that fragments sprayed up from a rogue shot at that time and hit him in the cheek somehow. And I guess so. Um, or it could be, could they be little pieces of shrapnel that came out of his face from the headshot or one of the headshots?
I think that would have blasted his face out.
Well, if there's resistance going through all this right here, and then by the time it gets here, it's just little tiny holes, you know? I do think a piece of shrapnel came out of his throat and caused the hole in his throat.
Well, that was CE 399.
No, 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 no. Okay, okay, okay. So, yes, I will concede that it's possible that that rogue shot could have caused perforations in his cheek, and absolutely could blew um hit the curb. I will concede that a rogue shot hit the curb at that time frame.
So let me ask you something.
Whether it hit Kennedy,
Let me ask you something. Why is it not in the summary of the Warren report? If you read the summary, they parse words, and it's written very carefully. Where it's like it's not there. It's just not there. And in the Warren report, many with all of the fire. You know how many firecracker witnesses there were? It's
that's
like a, it's like
that's
a,
I
it's
agree.
like 120.
I agree. Okay, so for those that don't know, almost every witness said that the first shot sounded like a firecracker. Now, I think that is because the first bullet that hit Candy in the back, CE399, and in my opinion, lodged because it was undercharged. It was a subsonic bullet. It could have had bad powder in it. It could be many different reasons why it lodged in his back, and then that's why it wasn't as loud, and that's why everyone thought it was a firecracker. To me, that a instead of
I think they thought it was a firecracker because it looked like a firecracker with all the junk coming up, and it sounded like a firecracker because it was the crack of hitting the curb.
no, no,
And to build on what something you said, if Lee had fired it further inside, then they would have heard that sound less than they would have heard the sound of the bullet hitting the curb. Curb.
I think they didn't say that. All the witnesses said that it sounded like a firecracker.
Yeah, hitting
It
like
sounded like
hit
a firecracker.
coming off of the curb.
No, but they said it sounded like it. Not that I don't. Not that they.
It sounded like it because it hit the curb. It was the crack of the bullet on the hard concrete curb. George Hickey said it sounded like it came from behind him at ground level. The agents thought it came from ground level where the curb was.
Why would he?
And Stavis Ellis said it came from the curb. And
I,
Marvin Faye Chisholm
I
saw
told you.
sparks coming
I already
off.
granted that. I already granted
And
that there.
Virgin, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I already granted that there could be a rogue miss shot that hit the curb and sent debris flying.
That happened. Yeah, that happened. That
I
happened.
already,
Yeah.
but I already conceded that. Okay, so that would be
You don't have to concede it's something that happened. That's just something that's good, and we can.
okay.
This is
Now,
not. We don't have. Let's work together to
yes,
solve this case. We don't have
yes.
to have any conflict between us whatsoever.
No, absolutely. No, but no, as I said, I concede okay. A rogue,
Just it.
a
It just
rogue.
is. It is what it is. I
No,
don't.
I can't say it is because I wasn't there and we don't have
Okay.
ammunition.
I'm going by the evidence. I'm
So it's
going by the
okay, but
evidence.
listen, for this debate, I concede that there was a rogue shot that hit the curb that sent sparks flying, that sent stuff flying. You with me?
Yep.
Okay, good. Now, but I think that just a little bit earlier, I think Kennedy was okay. Let's move on to your second shot, which would be my first shot. I think
Okay,
that,
but can I just interject one thing?
go ahead.
He yelled out, "My God, I'm hit."
Oh, okay, yeah. Why? Who heard him say that?
Kellerman.
Okay, who else heard him say that?
No one said they heard him say
Okay,
that.
okay.
But you still haven't answered my question as to why the first shot was is not in the summary of the Warren report.
I thought they mentioned it. They said, according to the Warren
No.
report, one shot was the magic bullet. The second shot missed, and then the third shot hit him in the head. That's what
Yeah. So where's the curb? Where's the shot that hit the curb?
they never.
It's not in the summary of the Warren report.
Well, that's why it's called the lost bullet.
But they didn't talk. It would be funny if in the Warren report they were like
A lot of people
refer
think,
to it as they don't refer to it as the lost bullet. They just don't refer to it at all.
well, that's the official story. The official story is that one bullet missed and it's gone. That's lost. The lost bullet.
Okay,
Second bullet is
I'm telling you that Lee's first shot that hit that curb and sounded like a firecracker and sent stuff in was um, erased and tampered and suppressed. That is just as you said that the fragments coming out of his head were suppressed, and you're
yes.
totally right about that. That first miss shot was also suppressed, and the reactions to it and the fragments. It was mischaracterized,
I don't know where those fragments.
and
I don't know where those fragments went. I'm
well,
conceding
they were found on the floor of the limo.
that's supposedly from the rear headshots.
It's possible somewhere, but if you look at, you want to bring up that is it CE 849? I can't quite remember. It's on if
The
you are,
fragments that were found in the car,
yeah,
I can put them right. I can insert it right here. But yeah, I think those. So you think those fragments came from the missed shot that sprayed up and went into the limo?
correct.
Okay, I don't. I think it was from the rear headshot. But
Well, if there was from the headshot, there would be visible blood, brain, hair. It would be an absolute mess. It would have been a
necessarily,
very messy situation. And yeah, the ones that we see, one of them even has like a folded, part. It clearly hit something very hard, and there's no visible
as I said,
blood.
there was tissue found on it in the 90s when they were examined.
Well, that could be from the headshot.
Well,
That tissue, but
that's
not the fragment.
that's what I'm talking about. On those fragments found in the
Well, yeah, but
Uh,
you would if it had come out of his head, you would see it in the
I'm
photograph.
not sure. I'm not sure.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I'm not sure that
There's
there's.
literally no way you could fire a bullet through a head and not have that fragmented and not have
Well,
because it has these little nooks and crannies and
okay,
crevices, and it would have gotten lodged in there.
okay, we're jumping the gun. So I think, and yes, I agree. CE 399 hit Kennedy in the back. You with me, brother?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it lodged in Kennedy's back.
Why
Uh,
would it lodge in his back? It's literally designed to come through.
and by the way, well, that's why I said everyone heard the first shot as a firecracker, which means I think that the C399, hold on, was had bad powder in it, and so therefore it wouldn't be as loud. Therefore, it would sound like a firecracker. Therefore, since it's undercharged and has bad powder, therefore it would lodge in Kennedy's back.
Hey Matt, could we take a 10-minute break?
Sure. So really fast on the whole John Connolly thing, he said that when they after they turned the corner, he was like stretching. He wasn't like he was like he and the other occupants of the car were like stretching. So I think that at Zapruder frame, 160, when he starts to turn, I think that's why he's doing. I think he's like stretching. I mean, that's one thing I've heard. I mean,
Where the hell did that come from?
oh, I can insert it right here.
Why would he be stretching after hearing a gunshot?
No, 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 no. But this is before the gunfire happened. Again, I think the first gunshot happened at frame 190. So before, why is he turning like this? I think because, as he said, he was stretching, kind of stretching. So I think that's why he turned. And people look at that and they go, "Oh my God, that's him reacting to the shot."
Well, he's not the only one reacting.
So okay, so and if that was a shot at 155, 160, right after that, Kennedy starts smiling and waving. And you also mentioned Rosemary Willis. Actually, her words fit pretty well with my first shot ringing at around frame 190 because she says when she said the shot rings off and then she stopped. That would seem to make sense. That would make sense. I mean,
Okay, so you're saying there, what are you saying? I'm sorry. Tell me what you're saying.
the shot rings off at like 188 and then she stops.
And what happens with that shot?
Oh, I think that's the shot that hit Kennedy in the back at frame 188.
No, no, I don't agree. Well, I don't look. I don't want to be rude. I don't want to say no.
It's okay. It's okay.
I don't see that. The amount of evidence also for the shot that went through him and Connolly,
I don't
like
think
around 224. You can see them both react at the same time to being shot.
I agree. I agree that you see we're in kind of agreement, but we disagree. I agree that at frame 223, 224, I believe that's when Governor Connolly was hit, but I think that was after.
From where?
I think it was from the records building, the roof of the records building.
Oh boy.
No, 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 absolutely. His doctors, figured out how he was positioned, and they lined up his wounds, and they said, okay,
Well, but Kennedy was
hold on. They
okay.
said it was a 27-degree angle, and you can angle that back, and where does it go? It goes right back to the roof of the records building. At
Well, weren't you influenced by the Dale Myers 3D model? You said that you liked that. Now you're
no,
coming
I
up with
didn't. No,
you
I didn't.
didn't. Well, I mean, what's wrong with it?
Oh, there's a ton of stuff wrong with it.
Hmm.
There's a ton of stuff wrong with it. First of all, How much?
And who was on the records building? Who are these people? Why doesn't anybody see them? Are they invisible? What's going on?
No, no. I don't know the names of the shooters, but as I said, they measured the trajectory through Connolly, and it was 27 degrees, and it points that
Who
27
did?
degrees
Who did?
to his. I just told you his doctors. They measured the trajectory through his body, and it was 27 degrees.
At Parkland?
Yeah, during his recovery time and all that stuff. They measured or whenever they did the investigation, they measured the trajectory through his body, how he was sitting and everything, and they lined him up and they said, okay, based on how he was sitting, the trajectory through his body was 27 degrees, and you go right back, and that leads to the roof of the records building. This is old news. This is old news. And the angle from that CE399 hit JFK in the back, that was 17 degrees downwards from the school book depository. So it's like, so that's why we call it like the magic bullet, because hits Kennedy 17 degrees, it hits him in his back, 5.5 inches below his skull and his back. And I'm not, and then it somehow has to go upward 11 degrees
No,
in his
no, no,
throat and then go
no.
downward at
I'm
20.
gonna listen. I'm gonna give you a bombshell of
That's why we call it the
information.
magic bullet because it's not the shot.
I'm gonna give you some information that's very important.
Okay.
The tampering didn't just happen on the first miss shot and the headshot. Okay. It also happened not in a physical way, but in a misrepresentation way on CE399 that went through Kennedy and Connolly. And I'll try to, I want to explain it. If I'm not being clear, then that's my fault. So, what Arlen Specter did not want people to know about was this AR-15 accident. Okay.
If it happened. If it happened.
Yeah. Um, and so the number of techniques that were employed to obfuscate and obscure and confuse the issue have been many. And one of them, I believe, was that he purposefully misaligned Kennedy and Connolly so that Connolly was sitting right in front of JFK, so that that's when you get your magic bullet craziness. So then the question is, well, why would Arlen Specter do something so, ballistically wrong and get everybody upset? Because he wanted everyone to be talking about that shot from Lee, CE399, that went through both men and arguing and wasting time arguing about that and not be looking at what happened to his head.
I think just as many people talk about the headshot just as much as they do the single bullet theory.
I'm not saying that his any of these plans and tamperings were, wise or good or effective. I'm just saying that we're talking about a huge cover up, and
Why?
you have identified many specific aspects of it, and I want to thank you for that.
All right, we are back. What, a month later? Doug, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Welcome back. In the last debate we talked about the your missed shot, which I conceded which I think was the second shot, and we both agree that the CE399 hit JFK in the back. You think it transited. I don't, so we're kind of in agreement, but we kind of disagree now. We're going to get to the meat, which is the headshot. A lot of people don't know the term grassy knoll did not exist on November 22nd. So here is my list that I made of the terms that the ear witnesses used to describe the frontal shot.
No, well, it's we don't that we're not there yet. We're not
Okay,
there
okay,
yet.
okay. Then
Stop
you,
adding your. We just want to listen to the witnesses.
okay,
You're trying to
okay.
project your own deal onto it.
Okay, well, that's the thing. The shot, the
Fatal,
no,
the
the no.
fatal. No, no, it's the fatal headshot. That's
Okay,
what it is.
okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, the railroad tracks, the underpass.
Hold on, one at a
Okay,
time.
we're.
Okay, the railroad
You know how
tracks.
long we'd be here if we go through each. Okay, go on.
So that is
The railroad.
west. That's west.
Yeah.
And so what you're really seeing there is this giant concrete wall that cars go under, and it's the overpass there. And that beyond that is the railroad tracks. So it's really the direction of the overpass, which has a giant concrete face
Yep.
that is facing back towards the east.
Yeah. That doesn't sound like right there in the middle of Elm Street. It sounds up in that direction. That doesn't support your case.
No, it does because when the AR-15 discharged in the follow-up car, right as it was right next to that lamppost there,
Hmm.
that gunshot echoed all around the plaza, including off of the overpass. And so the echoes that came off of the concrete structures in the pergola area, the angled wall behind the Newmans, the concrete behind Zapruder and Sitzman, the flat concrete of the overpass, even the fence. These are all surfaces of the echo. But we also have witnesses who heard the fatal gunshot coming from the follow-up car.
So the
And so that is a part of that's just a big that's as big a part of the puzzle as the echo witnesses, which are also very important.
so can you name any witnesses? So can you name any witnesses who said the shots came from the follow-up car?
Yeah, Ralph Yarbrough said that uh, the fatal shot might have come from a Secret Service man returning the fire.
So
Jean Hill said that she thought a Secret Service man was firing. Um, Winston Lawson said he thought Hickey fired. There's quite a few.
so what volume 7 page 440 Ralph Yarborough said, quote, seemed to come from my right rear. That's not this right rear.
That's
You mentioned Gene Hill. Gene Hill said it came from the knoll.
yes, because
Knoll.
she also said that a Secret Service man was firing,
She
and
thought.
because that happened, the smoke and echoes and many witnesses described the sound coming from the cars in the motorcade and the smoke right around that area and the echoes and the whole thing. So it all goes back to the AR-15 in the follow-up car. That is the source of all the Grassy Knoll stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, again, I can just list all these people who say it was up there rather than
Okay, but Matt, let's say we're having a conversation and I say my explanation for all of that are the echoes from the AR-15. You don't get to just skip over that. You have to actually address what I just
well,
said.
yeah, all the people said that the shots came from the depository and from the knoll area.
That is exactly what I am saying, and I agree with that 100%. And you have just solved the case, and we did it in way less time. But I want you to repeat what you just said. What you just said. Please repeat that. It came from the Texas School Book Depository and the Knoll area.
Yes, we all
Ding,
agree.
ding, 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 ding,
Yes,
ding. You have that's the massive bingo you just did.
no,
You have checked all the boxes, my friend, and that
we,
you have solved the case.
that would be like saying Blue. Yes. No, but no, I believe that it's not blue. It's baby blue.
No, no, no. It's what you just said that the shots came from the Texas School Book Depository and the Knoll area. We agree on that. We're just establishing that we agree on that, right?
Yes, yes, we do. Okay.
Okay, so we
Okay.
agree. We agree.
We just have different interpretations. I think it's up here, you think it's down here on the street. Okay. The
Feet
next
away. We disagree. Let me just say that all the things we disagree about are a matter of microseconds and just a matter of feet. So we're actually very close on everything.
Okay, so let's move on to the headshot itself, the forensics
Well,
and
no, no, we got to
evidence.
go to your witness list. That's what I asked you to talk about.
We did. Well,
No, no, you got to go
we
through
just
every single
conceded.
one. Every single one.
We're not. Do you know how long we'd be here?
No, Matt, because I'm making a point, and the point is that the only explanation for all of the different locations on your list is that it would have to have come from one place, and then the echoes all around made it seem like there were sounds emanating. But the witnesses were, when they said, "What did you hear? Where did you hear sound coming from?" And they said, "From the rail yards and the overpass." They were correct.
Okay.
They were hearing the echoes of the AR-15 in the follow car. So as you said you would do, please go through your list so
Okay.
we can
So
determine that.
how about
What's
I just list them? So that's okay.
okay? Yeah.
Some more meat. Okay. Around the head of the motorcade, somewhere
Whoa,
toward
whoa, whoa,
somewhere
whoa, 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 whoa. That is who said that? Who said
around.
that?
You got. You should know. You don't know who said that. You should know this case. Let's see. That was Robert Jackson who took the famous Pulitzer Prize of Oswald getting killed. That's his
Wow.
testimony.
Wow. You're
Even
blowing my mind.
I've had arguments with him on Facebook, and I'm like, Bob, I know that you were there. I know that you are a Lee did it all by himself guy. I know you were there. I know this puts me in an awkward situation, but your testimony says on volume 2, page 162, quote, it came from somewhere around the head of the motorcade.
Somewhere around the motorcade.
Around the head of the motorcade.
Well, the head of the motorcade could be interpreted as Kennedy himself, the head of the nation. What is he saying is the head of the motorcade? The pilot car, there's the lead car, the pilot car, the motorcycles.
Head of the
What's important is that it's somewhere near the motorcade,
yes.
near the
So it
motorcade,
the
on the
grassy
street.
the grassy knoll is right there too. You're not getting that.
It is, but that's where these echoes are coming
That's
from.
the end of the debate. He
But
just
you
conceded. He just conceded it. So he just
no,
conceded that. Yeah, yeah.
okay, we'll talk about your fence guy, but you're really blowing my mind with this stuff, and I really need this list. It's
This
really
is
good. It's really
this is
good. It's very
pure.
good.
This is puerile because
No, it's just great.
we all agree that this points to a shot that happened on this towards the street. You just think it happened
I know, but
here.
I am
Here.
genuinely, sincerely interested in hearing
Okay.
more of
Okay.
this
Fair enough.
list.
Fair enough. Oh, here's Will right here. Hey, Will, how are you?
Hi, good.
Hey, this is Doug Stone. Doug, meet Will. Will, meet
Hi,
Doug.
Will.
Hi, Doug. Nice to meet you.
Hey.
Hey, we are Will used to be a George Hickey uh did it guy or accidentally did it guy, and Doug is one. Right now we are going through all 58 uh no witnesses that Doug thinks all of them point to the AR-15 in George Hickey.
The AR-15 and the Echoes, but why don't we get Will caught up and why don't you just go through that list? Just and we won't interrupt you. We're just going to listen.
All right. The railroad tracks, the underpass, the triple underpass, in front of or beside the president, the viaduct, the cavalcade, the hill between the railroads and the TSBD, west of the TSBD, the railroad yards, the knoll, the group of trees around the head of the motorcade, somewhere towards the front, that concrete little deal on that knoll, between the underpass and the building right on that knoll, the little plaza sitting on the hill, the arcade between the bookstore and the underpass, the garden, a cement memorial building, the triple overpass, across the overpass, the alcove near the benches, the trees, the corner up there, the park, the shrubs, up the slope, the overpass, the little concrete structure, the bushes, the terrace, the monument, a fence, and the colonnade. Now, to me, as I was saying to Doug, all that implies a frontal shot. And
What?
from
We're just talking about the location, right?
Okay,
Like,
hold on, Doug, hold on. But Doug thinks that all of those point to the follow-up car in George Hickey. So basically, I say they're all pointing to this general direct area right here. What Doug thinks that they're all that all points to George Hickey. Earlier in the debate, he and I agreed that bullet fragments were removed at autopsy and not entered into evidence. I think that's the no bullet. He says, yes, that is the no bullet, but he thinks that's the AR-15 bullet. So we agree in agreement that the fragments were removed and suppressed. We just come to
we,
different conclusions.
we really agree on everything.
I guess almost everything. I don't think
I'd say like 99%.
I don't think Lee did it. You do.
Well, okay, but I'm just talking about the headshot right now.
Okay, well, you want to jump in?
Okay, so to briefly summarize, um, the reason actually why, well, even though I don't personally believe that Agent Hickey nor Oswald fired any shot, I do give credit to that theory for getting me interested in the case because prior to seeing JFK the Smoking Gun on the 50th anniversary, I had always accepted that Oswald acted alone and that there was nobody else involved. It was only after seeing that documentary that really gave me a light bulb moment where I decided to look into the case myself. And now, after studying it for almost 12 years, and Matt already knows this, that I can say definitively that neither Oswald nor Hickey fired a shot, and it's very easy to prove, not only if you go to the Warren Commission's records, but the ARRBs and elsewhere, and even the autopsy report too.
Okay, so who shot who shot what happened?
This isn't a whodunit case. This is a what happened case.
What
Exactly.
happened? Who did it? What happened? Tell me the result of tell me your results, please. I'm listening.
Okay. Well, using all information on both sides that we have after almost 60 years, I think it's very easy to prove using the photographic evidence, using eyewitness testimony, physical evidence, forensic evidence, and so forth, that there were two assassins, one on the sixth floor, one behind the fence on the grassy knoll, neither of whom were Oswald or Hickey. Who they were is irrelevant. But what matters is that there was more than one assassin and more than three shots, and that's really all you need to know to prove conspiracy.
So here's what we agree on. Assassin in the sixth floor. Totally agree with that. Um, I want to move your behind the fence just down a little bit into the follow-up car to the accidental AR-15 shot. And the reason I want to do that is because your fence shot would have exited out the left side of Kennedy's head, and that didn't occur. What did happen is the bullet from the AR-15 from just 16 feet behind pushed his head slightly forwards, and then because it was traveling on a slightly left to right trajectory, exploded out the right side, and that explosion, because of the jet propulsion of that explosion, that's what pushed his head back towards the AR-15. So I'm going to have to rule out your fence shot just based on simple ballistics and physics.
Okay, we'll respond to.
Well, that's, I hate to tell you, has been debunked. And I'll tell you why. First of all, a shot from behind the picket fence on the grassy knoll would work, not granted, not if it entered his temple or his forehead. I agree that that would have exited the left side when we know there was indeed no wound there. But the trajectory does work if it hits him on the side of the head, because that would be a tangential wound, as Dr. Kem Clark, who was the chief neurosurgeon and pronounced Kennedy dead at Parkland Hospital, described his head wound as tangential. So, in other words, and we know that Kennedy was leaning down and forwards with his head turned slightly to the left at the time of impact. So, if the shot enters here, it would exit this area,
Well, that's not what happened.
yes, it is.
Let
According,
me,
It exploded out forwards.
well,
And you can see that on the
we'll finish.
Zapruder film.
Matt, do you want
We'll finish this point. Go on.
to? Okay. Now, when I say that, that is one of the two headshots, because the evidence for two headshots, one from behind and one from the front, is far stronger than evidence for just one. The shot from the grassy knoll fence entered around this area on the side of his head and exited the upper right side of the back of his head, blowing out a 4 to 5 inch piece of scalp bone, sending brain and blood backwards and to the left, which we know from the testimonies of people in the motorcade, people at Parkland Hospital, and people at the autopsy, that Kennedy had a large gaping void of missing scalp bone and brain here in the upper right side of the back of his head, which from the experience of the people at Parkland Hospital and the autopsy, was obviously an exit wound. From my count, based on their original statements, 38 to 60 of them placed the head wound right here, the right side of the back of the head, or both the right side and the right back, just above and just behind his right ear, not here in the right front where the HSCA claimed, and not in just the right side where the Warren Commission claimed, but both. And in fact, if you read the autopsy report's description of the head wound, it describes the head wound the exact same way as the eyewitnesses did, because it says, quote, there is a large irregular defect of the scalp and skull on the right involving chiefly the parietal bone, which encompasses the top, the upper side, and the upper back of the head, but extending somewhat into the temporal, that's the lower side right here, and occipital regions, which is the lower back of the skull or the base. So, in layman's terms, the autopsy report confirms that the entire right side of the president's head was gone from top to back. Now, as for the headshot from behind, which did not come from the AR-15 or the follow-up card, but from the depository, or perhaps, possibly, though I'm not 100% certain on this, possibly the Douthit building or the county records building,
Why not both?
because there's really no evidence for either, but most likely the depository, and it exited his right temporal area, blowing out a piece of bone that stuck out from his scalp and hung over his face, which is why in this Pruder film his face appears to be blown off when it really wasn't. And in fact, if you look at the autopsy photographs and x-rays, you see that piece of bone hanging off of the side of his head in front of his right ear. So that was the exit wound from the shot from behind, whereas the exit wound from the shot
From
from
what? From
here,
where? From where?
the shot from behind from the sixth floor, the shot from the front from the grassy knoll fence. Two
Gotcha.
headshots, no more no less. And the hardest evidence, the strongest evidence for two headshots is the autopsy x-rays, particularly the x-ray of the right side of the head. Because if you look at that x-ray, you see bullet fragments starting here and expanding as they travel backwards, indicating that they entered near the front of his head. And you also see fracture lines starting from the lower back of his head, just above the external occipital protuberance, which is where the autopsy report placed the entry wound, not up here, where the Clark panel and HCA falsely claimed.
Wait, where? Oh, okay, right behind your ear.
Yes, down here, just above the base of the skull. The
And
X-ray also has
what
fracture
makes
lines starting there and going upwards and expanding as they go upwards and forwards. So right there in the X-rays, we have proof of two headshots.
um everything you're describing we're really talking, I believe we're really talking about the same thing. We just have different interpretations of it. Um, so Lee fires a third shot, his final shot, and that I think hits the curb by James Tague and sends fragments up at Tague. At this point, Hickey is retrieving just moments after the Tague shot, which I'm guessing around 290. Hickey is, as he said, was pulling that charging handle back, and he was already turning to the right in order to get that rifle to turn it around. He had to bring it up and over Dave Power's head, who was sitting in the the right middle seat. So he has to raise that up, and keep in mind that the follow-up car is not only taller, Hickey is sitting on two pieces of luggage, so he's pretty high up.
Mhm.
So he could look around for attackers.
Mhm.
So they're on the slope, and so as he's raising that rifle, he's pulling that charging handle back. And as you know, after the Lee's second shot, where I know you don't think it's Lee, but after the second shot, Clint Hill is running. Um, I think what happened, and this is just, you can just see it in the Zapruder film, is Bill Greer sees Hill both in the rearview mirror and turns around and sees him, and he puts on that brake so that Hill can climb on board the limo.
Mhm.
So the lights on the back of the limo come on, and it's slowing down. Kinney has to put on the brake to slow the fall car. That's just as Hickey is raising the rifle, and he probably, because of the jolting of the car, he
Lost his balance.
let go. Well, just letting go of that charging handle. That gun was defective. It had a really bad slam fire problem where the firing pin was too big, too dense, and so if you pulled that charging handle back and didn't lock it, but rather pulled it back part of the way and then let it go, could slam in that firing pin could make contact with the back of the bullet and ignite the primer and discharge a bullet without the trigger being pulled. So imagine Hickey is there and he's surrounded by agents on the running boards, and that gun goes off and goes just over the windshield 16 feet. And as you see on the Zapruder film, Kennedy is like this, and it hits him. I don't know where, I can't say exactly where. You guys have different things, but let's say hit him right around here. And as you can see on the Zapruder film, it pushes, and keep in mind, it's going slightly to the left and down maybe 6 degrees. And uh, Kennedy's head goes just a little forward. And then you have to understand these bullets. The bullets have a very, unlike the Carcano bullets, have a very thin copper jacket
Mhm.
and lead core. And what happens with these very lethal, destructive 223 bullets is they're coming out of that barrel so fast at like 3,200, 3,300 feet per second, and it's the friction from going through the barrel, that just the air is heating up that bullet. So when it hits JFK, it's just slamming into the back of his head, and like that wound is substantial, radiating fractures. I mean, imagine getting shot in the back of the head with a fucking AR-15, guys. It's like it's incredibly destructive.
Mhm.
Once that very hot copper and lead hit the relatively cooler temperatures of the blood and brain, it's already very unstable, and it's just ruptures, and those fragments harden, and it's just spraying out and pushing out, brain and blood and bone, and that, as we see on the Zapruder film, is erupting out the right side in a massive explosion, which it mirrors the, you can see the wound profiles of AR-15 gunshots in Department of Defense reports, and they mirror what you see with JFK, especially in the Zapruder film. And so that explosion, because of the phenomenon of jet propulsion, the force of the explosion is almost the same as the force of the bullet hitting him. It's the transfer of energy. And so that explosion is what is pushing his head back and slightly to the left, right in the direction of the AR-15. And this is heard by, Gene Hill saw it happen. Yarborough thought that it was a Secret Service agent. Many people thought it, all came from right there. And smelled the gunpowder, and the story of what happened after that is the most insane, frantic, crazy Coen brothers cover up you can imagine. It's a really crazy fucking story. And Lee is up in the window at the moment of this headshot. Imagine you're Lee and you want to kill JFK and Connolly. He had real specific reasons to hate both of them. He's like, boom, click, click, boom, click, click, boom, click, click. Right then, down on the street, boom, he sees Kennedy's head explode. He's like, I did not fire that shot. What the hell is going on? And so you can imagine almost a Cold War hypno wheel going around him, and he goes into a state of believing that he had been. When he said he was a patsy, he was correct, because at the time the term patsy meant someone who's being blamed for something they did not do. And he did not fire the headshot, and he was falsely blamed for it, knowingly and unknowingly. And that's what's got us into all this conspiracy nonsense. What a fine mess we've gotten ourselves into.
All right, Will.
So I do, as I said, agree that there was indeed a headshot from behind, and it did exit the right side towards the front of Kennedy's head, but that was not the fatal shot. The fatal one,
I
obviously.
know you said all this. I'm happy to answer
Hold
any
on.
questions you have about what I just said.
We'll respond. Hold on.
Well, he's just repeating what he already said, but that's okay.
We'll respond here.
Okay. Sorry, Matt.
Well, go on.
Okay. So I do indeed agree with you in general that yes, there was indeed a headshot from behind, and that it possibly did not come from the Mannlicher Kakano from Oswald's alleged rifle, but I think that there is absolutely no strong evidence that either Oswald or Hickey fired that shot. And in fact, a very strong piece of evidence that proves to me that Hickey did not fire any shots actually comes from two of his fellow Secret Service agents. I'm not sure if you're aware of this. The first being Secret Service agent William McKintry, who was positioned in the follow-up car on the running board beside or behind Clint Hill next to Hickey, said in his report from the week after the assassination that, quote, most, if not all, the agents in the follow-up car had drawn their weapons, and Agent Hickey was handling the AR-15. None of us could determine the origin of the shots, and no shots were fired by any agent.
Dude,
Now,
if an dude, dude,
Hold
if
on.
an
right beside
dude,
Hickey,
Hold
dude,
on.
are you saying that a Secret Service agent would admit to an accidental shot from the follow-up car?
no, but I'm just saying, considering Agent McKintry was right beside
Well, I
him,
guess I guess that settles
Doug,
it.
hold on. Doug, hold on. Sorry,
that
we're going.
if Agent Hickey did indeed fire a shot,
He would have
very
McIntyre would have said
Let
it.
him respond. Let him respond.
all right. I repeat, quote, no shots were fired by any agent. And another agent who said that was Agent Floyd Boring, second agent in charge of the White House detail just underneath Gerald Bain. And in his interview with the Assassination Records Review Board, Agent Boring told the review board, quote, he said he knows it was incorrect, meaning the theory of Agent Hickey firing the headshot. He knows it is incorrect because he personally inspected the weapons during the automobile inspection.
Okay, my friend, my
And they
friend,
Let him
my
respond.
friend,
Hold on, Doug.
to see
All right,
if
well, go on. Let
this
me
is
respond.
really excruciating.
during the
Well, let him
automobile
respond.
inspection to see whether they had been fired. The weapons he explained, meaning both the shotgun and the AR-15. He said the inspection consisted of both opening each weapon and inspecting its barrel for powder debris, as well as checking the shells in the magazine to see whether any were missing. Based on his examination of the AR-15 rifle, he stated that he concluded it was not fired that day since its barrel was clean and the clip was not missing any shells. I repeat, since the barrel was clean and the clip was not missing any shells. He's referring
So,
to
just to be clear, you believe in a massive conspiracy to kill and a massive cover up to kill Kennedy, just to be clear?
well, that's hyperbole.
Just
I
yes
don't
or no?
I
Yes, you do.
no,
But you
no.
can't but the idea that if there was an
Let him
accidental.
respond. Let Will respond. Just let him respond. He
The
spoke for
simple
20
short
minutes.
answer is that all right, this to make it short and to the point, no, I don't believe everybody was involved in every government agency or
I don't
anyone
mean to
who
suggest
had
that.
any reason to hate Kennedy was involved. Absolutely not. That's preposterous. However, the
I'm not
evidence
suggesting that.
in general, it is very easy to prove that there were two assassins, neither of whom were Oswald or Hickey, and that yes, the assassination was
Okay, but
a
if I
plot
could just
that
make my
that was
point, if I could make my
formed
point,
simply because Kennedy's policies were a threat to the interests of his political enemies, and but that does not mean that everybody has to be involved. That's
I'm not saying
who
no.
specifically
All I'm
who
saying
specifically was
is
responsible will never be
all I'm
known.
saying is why would you
Matter
believe
in the scheme of
what?
things, what matters is that it was indeed a conspiracy, and what matters is that it was
But
not
why would you believe Floyd Boring?
because his interview says, he inspected the weapons of the Secret Service
But
for
why would you believe?
uh,
Why would you believe him?
because he would know. He was the number two agent in charge of
But
Kennedy's.
if it had fired, what would have happened? If it had fired accidentally, what would their reaction have been to that?
Well, yes, probably. They still would have engaged in a cover-up and would have silently made Agent Hickey resign and leave the Secret
Would
Service.
Floyd Boring have reported, oh yeah, this AR-15 fired in Dealey Plaza? Would he have reported that?
Most likely, or he would have
Well,
privately reported it and not admitted to any.
so it would have been a cover up. It would have been a cover up. We are in agreement.
Yes, but again, I'm laying out the evidence for
We
you
are in agreement that if the AR-15 fired, there would have been a massive cover up. You just said it. You just said it.
well, not as massive as people
Well,
within.
a cover up of the AR-15 accident. You agree that if the AR-15 had accidentally fired and the bullet fatally struck Kennedy, there would have been a cover up of that.
Yes, but the simple fact is there was no shot from the AR-15.
I disagree. I say there was a shot from the
The
AR-15.
evidence shows that there was no shot from the AR-15
The
whatsoever.
actually the all of the headshot evidence is consistent with the AR-15 rifle.
One last thing. Does the Charles Bronson film show Hickey with his rifle in the air or pointed at Kennedy? To me, real quick, it looks like Hickey has it pointed up in the air. That's just my 2 cents. It looks like Hickey has the rifle pointed up in the air, and if that's the case, then
No, it's you
delay
can.
it.
Okay, let me tell you what it is. At the moment of the headshot in the Bronson film, not only can you see the handguard of the AR-15 pointed to the back of Kennedy's head, you can see a double it's like this. You can see a double version of the handguard, and it took me years to figure out why. There was a time when I thought that it was because of the recoil of the AR-15, where it went up so quickly that it made a double image on that one frame. But now I think it was not because of the recoil, it was because of Hickey himself jerking it upwards. But yeah, you can see that. But
Pointed
anyway,
upwards
thanks.
at the time of the headshot. It's pointed
Yeah.
upwards at the time.
No, I just said it's not. If you want to if you want to have a conversation where I'm like, here's what it is, and then you immediately say, no, it's pointed upwards. There's no evidence, Matt, that it was pointed upwards. You're just saying something.
I can.
You don't have any evidence that the AR-15 was pointed upwards at the moment of that shot. You don't. It's a fun thing to say. It's a fun thing to say, but it's not true.
Right.
And with that, I really have to say goodnight.
All right, I'll insert it here. The people at home can make up their own minds. All right. Hey, this is my first time moderating, and it's pretty interesting. So, thank you guys for your 2 cents each. I appreciate it.
All right. Good night, Will and Matt.
Night.
Have a great one.